Science now shows that trees do communicate with each other through their root systems and by using the fungal network and other ways. But can we communicate with trees, and do trees communicate with us? And if so, what do they say? For this episode I return to Dartington Hall Gardens and continue my chat with Jeannie Hampshire. We spend a bit of time with the ancient yew trees there. What wisdom will we glean from our time with the yew trees? Hello and welcome, I'm Claire Casely, a wanderer between the realms, and this is Weird Wonderful Wonders. In each episode I walk with my guests and talk about a paranormal experience they've had. The piece of music you've just heard was inspired by some woods near my home. I was driving by one day and I started humming it to myself in my car, and then I came home and wrote the piece of music and played it on my harp. I confess to being what some people would call a tree hugger. All my life I've loved trees and felt a connection with them. Obviously I did the usual thing as a kid. I'd climb trees in my mum's garden or wherever I could, and just used to love being outside. I never wanted to come in at the end of the day. Loved playing outside, beneath the trees, around the trees, climbing in the trees. And then a few years ago I did some training, working with trees, the trees of the Celtic calendar, and connecting with their sounds through tuning forks and also using my voice. I regularly spend time with trees, I hug trees, I love being with them, and I find them really relaxing to be around. So if I'm feeling a bit anxious or stressed about something, a walk to a favourite tree and spending some time talking with the tree and just sitting quietly below it really helps me. So if you're feeling stressed, try that. I know I'm lucky enough to live in a beautiful part of the world, not very far from some woods that I can walk to, where there are lots of trees available. But even a local park, if you can connect with a tree there, or if you have a garden or a community garden, or if there is somewhere not too far away that you can connect with a tree, even the trees that you see on your walk to work, just try, as you walk by, just mentally saying hello to them. So let's time travel now back through space and time to Dartington Hall Gardens, where Jeannie and I are stood under the ancient yew trees. I always feel that yew trees are inhabited by lots of different beings. The bottom of the tree is very sort of bulbous and very lumpy and bumpy, and lots of little nooks and crannies. What sort of feeling do you get about this part of the gardens with the old church tower and these yew trees?
A sense of real deep wisdom. You know, that it's a quietness.
Yes.
It's not shouting from the rooftops.
So there's an old church tower here, St Mary's Church Tower, dating from the 13th century. The enormous yew tree is approximately 1500 years old. I wonder what that's seen, and I wonder what was here before the church, because a lot of these places with yew trees were used in ancient pagan worship. won't they?
I mean, I know it has druidic connections and Knights Templar connections.
Jeannie described a technique for connecting with trees which is called tree breathing, and I've done quite a lot of this in the past, and it's just a matter of standing or sitting beside a tree and imagining that you're breathing with the tree. And there's various techniques to do this, but it's the simplest form is just to sit with the tree and imagine that you're breathing with the tree and slowing your breathing down. And I'm interested as well because you work with sound as well, which is something that I do as well, working with tuning forks and sounding. But I was reading about the wonders that you do on Dartmoor, where you use chanting and sound. Do you ever sing to the trees?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be highfalutin. It's just literally making some sounds to connect with the trees.
Yes.
Or you can actually, chant a specific chant if you like. But there is a sense that we're giving some loving attention to something in nature, particularly trees. And I mean, I'm quite inspired by the fact that lots of people now are not quite as dismissive of that whole idea as they might have been several years ago.
Yes.
And, I know there are people in this area, and there are specific days where there was someone who set up a day where people would find an ash tree. This was really to try and do some healing work that was connected with the ash dieback fungus.
Yes.
That is killing so many ash trees that are quite old, and so it was really going and honouring a tree that you knew or you particularly like. And if you've done that, if you've had that deep conversation with the tree and you've used your sound, your song or whatever, you want to go back to it.
Yes.
It draws you back. So you're making and deepening a really strong connection. And then obviously that tree is connected, by the mycelium beneath the earth to all other trees. So, we're maybe putting something back to actually help the greater whole and the greater situation.
I really very much believe we can come to an area and not really know why we're there, and then gradually our purpose of being in that place unfolds, and it, like you say, it might not be something like really huge and mega and whatever, but it's just something simple that we're doing to help the environment. Like you say, just visiting a tree or picking up the litter where we live or looking after our gardens. Yeah, simple things, isn't it, that all feeds into the general well-being of the planet, or encouraging the well-being of the planet.
Yeah, and it gives us a place in things, really. It's so easy, particularly with energies now that are so chaotic. I mean, astrologically, the cosmos is on steroids. It's, there's just so much going on. And it's collectively overwhelming. And it's so important to be able to tune into ourselves and really look at, where am I in all of this? I might be having to change what my interests are and what I share with people. I've got to keep coming back in and checking, because nothing is the same anymore. And we're having to work, if we're going to move forward, we've got to work in different ways. And I'm challenged by that, but I suppose it's being able to find other groups of people or different people where you can work together with certain things.
Yeah.
And then that strengthens the resolve and the intention.
Yes, I have several trees that I visit in different places, and I have this beautiful old oak tree opposite my house that definitely developed a relationship with over 8 years. And it's recognising, what do you think about the idea that certain trees are kind of guardians, really, of an area, so more than others, like this.
Well, this one is actually even conventionally acknowledged as a champion tree. So those are the trees, that have been marked down, even in a conventional way as being significant trees.
Yes.
And that they have a long history and a relationship with the area around it. So, yeah, they do have, all these different spots and places have their guardians. And we really have to honour them and not go trampling in, Yeah, and as you say, it's about spending time.
Yes.
In a lot of these places, it's like not just going from A to B and visiting the tree,
yes,
but actually staying in its ambience and staying in its atmosphere and its energy field, and communicating in whatever way you wish to communicate.
Yeah, I'm not a great singer, but I do, when I'm on my own in nature, I do sing in my own way, or just come up with my own songs or sounds, because I play music as well. And it, like you say, it's building that reciprocity with the place. Felt like I've slowed down and I've got a lot quieter and more introspective. That's the kind of feeling I'm having from the tree. It's just this kind of feeling of wanting to stand still and just be slower, quieter. I think that's a real lesson of trees, isn't it? Because they don't rush around.
Yeah, it is. And the ancient Taoists, it's why it's really good to practice your movements and Qigong and Tai Chi near a river or near a tree. Because nature supports us. And we're actually returning some delicious energy back into the areas if we practice in those spots.
Yes.
So again, it's actually finding your place in these spots.
Delicious energy, I just love that. My thanks to Jeannie, my wonderful guest, for my wander at Dartington. I had an impulse to create this podcast at the beginning of this year. I set my birthday in January as the start date, and I decided it would be a monthly podcast. And my reasoning was that I've always had a passion for the paranormal and love of ghost stories and telling ghost stories to my friends when I was younger and scaring the living daylights out of them. So I've always been a bit of a storyteller, that I'm someone that's had lots of unusual experiences that can't easily be explained. During the course of previous episodes, I've revealed a few things that I've experienced along the way, and there's more of this to come. I find it intriguing and I'm interested in finding out more. And the other main reason that I started this podcast is because I have a lifelong love of being out in nature and walking. I used to have a business as a life coach. As part of that, I would walk and talk with people in nature to help them with various life issues. And inevitably, as part of those sessions, the clients I was with would mention a paranormal experience that they'd had. And it made me realise that many of us experience the paranormal. We may not have experienced it ourselves. We may know somebody that's had a strange experience. We don't share these things usually because we don't want to be vilified by others. I hope by sharing these experiences that other people have had and that I've had, it will give others some validation. And I do want to hear your experiences because I'm now recording series 2 that's going to come out next year, 2023. I'd love you to contact me with any strange experience you've had, wherever you are in the world. Please contact me on weirdwonderfulwonders@gmail.com. You can send me an email or you can email me a voice clip, which is a really lovely, easy way for me to feature your stories on the programme. You can remain anonymous if you'd like to. I do have a Patreon group which helps me to pay for some of the costs of running the podcast. I have to pay for my platform, etc. And people can join for as little as £3 a month, and it's a way of supporting artists like myself that are putting their message out there through their creativity. Thank you for listening to Weird Wonderful Wonders with me, Claire Casely. I'll see you next time, and remember to walk frightly, for there are many strange tales beneath your feet.